بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد طه الأمين. Let's make our intentions for the sake of Allah تبارك وتعالى. Continuing with عمدة الراغب في مختصر بغية الطالب in the Shafi'i school. This is, I remind you, the contains the personal obligatory knowledge. We got up to in the chapter of the branches of belief, al-iman bil qadr. If we go back, just see, we started to discuss the second shahada. The second shahada, which says that we confirm that Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, he is the messenger of Allah. Then this is the matan, the main text. Because we believe in Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, we must also believe in what he came with. We must also believe in everything that he came with and what he conveyed from Allah, such as the punishment of the grave and its luxuries, the questioning of the two angels, Munkar and Nakir, and so on. So we did all these matters. We discussed all these matters that follow the second testification of faith. Until now, we have reached al-iman bil-qadr, believing in the qadr. So that's what we're going to discuss today, inshallah. And we're going to finish up to here, discussing that he was the last of the messengers, the last of the prophets. So, mashallah. The author said, rahimahullah, وَالْإِيمَانُ بِالْقَدَرِ خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِّهِ. One must believe in al-qadr. It's good and it's bad. So, in the Arabic language, or let me explain another way. Al-qadr has two meanings. Al-qadr has two meanings. One of them relates to the creation, and another is an attribute of Allah. So you could say al-qadr and mean an attribute of Allah, which is destining. The destining is an eternal attribute, is an attribute of Allah. This involves the power, the knowledge, and the will of Allah for things to be destined, for things to come into existence as because Allah willed and knew and created with his power. So al-qadr can mean destining, i.e. the eternal and everlasting attribute of Allah. Al-qadr can also mean something created, i.e. what has been destined. So destining is an attribute of Allah, of course. As for what's been destined, that's creation. I've been destined. I'm a creation. The sky has been destined. The sun has been destined to be a certain shape and a color and a size. So al-qadr can mean also the destined, the creations. So here it says we must believe in al-qadr. If we stop just here, stop up to the word al-qadr, then this could mean we believe in the attribute of Allah, that Allah is the one that willed, created, and knew everything. Okay. Now, when we start to say good qadr and bad qadr, then of course this doesn't refer now to the attribute of Allah. We don't say about the attribute of Allah that it is bad. So literally this says we believe in al-qadr. It's good and it's bad. So it means we believe in the destining of Allah, okay, in the destining of Allah, and we believe in the good that Allah created, because al-qadr has a second meaning, remember? So here we use the second meaning. You can do that in Arabic. This is called al-istikhdam in Arabic, where You have a statement, and then you have a what's known in Arabic as a dhamir, as a pronoun, I guess you'd call it, which means this. It goes back to this. Literally, it's good and it's bad. Where what you can do is when you go back to this word, you can use the other meaning of the word. Okay? So we believe in al-qadr, the destining of Allah. Okay, when we say we believe in the good qadr now, we mean the destined qadr. Okay? So we believe in al-qadr, i.e. we believe in the destining of Allah, and we believe that everything therefore is destined by Allah, whether these creations were good or bad. فالواجب الذي هو أحد أركان الإيمان الستة هو الرضا بقدر الله أي تقديره. Okay? So what is obligatory and what is one of the 6 pillars of belief is the acceptance of the destining of Allah. The destining of Allah. The attribute of destining of Allah. Okay. And not to object to what Allah has destined. Okay? Not to be angry at Allah. وَأَمَّا الْمَقْدُورِ, as for the created, destined matters, فيجب الإيمان بأن كل المقدورات أي المخلوقات بتقدير الله تحصل. As for the destined matters, the created matters, it's an obligation to have faith, the belief in the fact that every destined matter, i.e., every created matter, is by the destining of Allah. It occurs by the destining of Allah. ما كان خيرا وما كان شرا. What was good of the created matters, like the prayer and fasting and the Kaaba and so on. وَمَا كَانَ شَرًّا, and what was evil, what Allah created to be good and what Allah created to be evil, like kufr. فَمَا كَانَ مِنَ الْمَقْدُورِ خَيْرًا يَجِبُ الرِّضَى بِهِ. And what Allah created, what Allah destined of good, we are obligated to love it. وَمَا كَانَ مِنْهُ شَرًّا يَجِبُ كَرَاهِيَتُهُ كَالْكُفْرِ وَالْمَعَاصِي. As for what Allah destined to be of evil, then we are obligated to hate it, like kufr and sins. We are obligated to hate kufr and to hate sins. Kufr meaning that grave sin that makes a person a non-Muslim. ومعنى ذلك أن كل ما دخل في الوجود من خير وشر هو بتقدير الله الأزلي. This means that, or that means that everything that enters into existence of good and evil, it is by the destining of Allah, the eternal destining of Allah. فالخير من أعمال العباد بتقدير الله ومحبته ورضاه. The good among the deeds of the slaves is by the destining of Allah and the acceptance of Allah. The mahabba means the acceptance of Allah, also his rida. والشر من أعمال العباد بتقدير الله لا بمحبته ورضاه. As for the evil matters among the deeds of the slaves, the evil things that were created, these are by the destining of Allah. Yes, of course, Allah created them. These are by the destining of Allah, but not accepted by Allah. That's why we are obligated to hate them. وقد ورد في حديث جبريل الصحيح المشهور لفظ والقدر خيره وشره. So in the narration in hadith, it was narrated in hadith, the famous hadith of Jibreel, the famous authentic hadith of Jibreel, the words or the wording, وَالْقَدَرِ خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِّهِ, that Al-Imam Muslim narrated. That was up here as well. Look at that. وَالْقَدَرِ خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِّهِ. Where is it going? Oh, it was above, wasn't it? وَالْقَدَرِ. Okay, it's right at the top with the mutton, but it's okay. وَالْقَدَرِ خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِّهِ. Oh, there we are. Oh, that's what I was looking at just now. MashaAllah. Okay, here we are. وَالْإِيمَانُ بِالْقَدَرِ خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِّهِ. That's the wording of the hadith narrated by Muslim. وفي لفظ, and in another wording of the hadith, this one was narrated, it says by An-Nasa'i and Al-Bayhaqi. It says وَالْقَدَرِ كُلِّهِ, to believe in all of the qadr, meaning to believe in all, to believe that the good and bad were created by Allah, that everything was destined by Allah. Next, ويتضمن الإيمان برسالة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, and what is included or comes under believing in the messengership or the prophethood even of Prophet Muhammad عليه الصلاة والسلام is الإيمان بأنه صلى الله عليه وسلم خاتم النبيين. It is to believe that he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, was the seal of the prophets. لأنه أخبر بذلك, because he told us about that. قال, he said, عليه الصلاة والسلام, may Allah raise his rank and protect his nation from that which he feared for it. وختم بي النبيون, he said, and sealed by me were the prophets. رواه مسلم, narrated by Al-Imam Muslim. وقوله بأن سيدنا محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم سيد ولد آدم أجمعين. And he also said, صلى الله عليه وسلم, it was his saying, that he himself was the master of the children of Adam, meaning the best of the children of Adam, all of the children of Adam. هذا متفق عليه عند العلماء. This is an agreed upon matter according to the scholars. وهو مأخوذ من حديث رواه الترمذي أنا سيد ولد آدم يوم القيامة ولا فخر. And it was taken from the hadith narrated by at-Tirmidhi that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I am the master, which means the great, of the sons of Adam, the children of Adam, on the day of judgment, wala fakhr. And I don't say that out of pride or arrogance. أي لا أقول ذلك افتخارا. I don't say that out of arrogance or pride, the dispraise pride. إنما أقول ذلك تحدثا بنعمة الله وفي ذلك جواز وصفه بأنه سيد البشر. Rather, he said that recounting the blessings of Allah upon him, the favors of Allah, the endowments of Allah. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. As for the ni'am that Allah has upon you, has bestowed upon you, hadith, speak about them. And in that, in the hadith, we see the permissibility of describing him as the Sayyid of al-Bashar, the best of creation. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. قال المؤلف رحمه الله, said the author, Shaykh Abdullah al-Harari rahimahullah. Now we move on to the section about believing in the attributes of the prophets of Allah. So this requires a lot of attention. MashaAllah. Remember to renew your intention for the sake of Allah, tabaraka wa ta'ala, and focus. ويجب اعتقاد أن كل نبي من أنبياء الله يجب أن يكون متصفا بالصدق والأمانة والفطانة، فيستحيل عليهم الكذب والخيانة والرذالة والسفاهة والبلادة والجبن وكل ما ينفر عن قبول الدعوة منهم. So the author said, it is obligatory to believe that every prophet among the prophets of Allah, it is necessary that they be attributed with truthfulness, trustworthiness, and intelligence. So it is impossible that they would be attributed with lying, treachery. Ar-radhala, we'll explain it. Uh, it's a type of lowliness. As-safaha, stupidity, that's going to be described too. And al-balada also will say a type of stupidity, which we'll explain soon, and cowardice. So these matters, it's impossible that they would be attributes of prophets. And everything also, this is impossible, and everything that repels a person away from accepting the invitation of Islam from them. الشرح أن الأنبياء يجب لكل منهم أن يكون بهذه الأخلاق، وهي الصدق، فيستحيل عليهم الكذب، لأن ذلك نقص ينافي منصب النبوة. The explanation is that the prophets, it is necessary that every one of them would possess the aforementioned attributes, truthfulness and so on. And they are, the first attribute is truthfulness. Therefore, it is impossible that they would be attributed with being a liar or that they would lie, because that is a defect that contradicts the station of prophethood. وأما قول إبراهيم عليه السلام عن زوجته سارة إنها أختي وهي ليست أخته في النسب، فكان لأنها أخته في الدين، فهو ليس كذبا من حيث الباطن والحقيقة، إنما هو الصدق. So now we've said that the prophets don't lie. So as for the saying of Ibrahim alayhi salam about his wife Sarah, he said what literally would mean, but it has another meaning. It has an underlying meaning. That's what Ibrahim alayhi salam meant. He said about her, innaha ukhti. He didn't say it in Arabic, of course. He said it in the Hebrew tongue, I believe. He said, innaha ukhti, meaning literally, she is my sister. It was his wife. He said, what means she is my sister, while she is not his actual sister from in terms of lineage, in terms of family. Rather, he said that because she is his sister, was his sister in terms of religiosity. Like we say about Muslims, don't we? Oh, can I just speak to you for a second, brother? Or can I just, sister, can I just speak to you? It doesn't mean it's your actual sister, it's your own blood. No. فهو ليس كذبا من حيث الباطن والحقيقة إنما هو الصدق. And it is not therefore actually a lie. He didn't lie. It's actually true. So it's not permissible to say about Ibrahim that he lied. This is kufr to say that Ibrahim lied, because prophets are, in this sense, infallible. They are impeccable and infallible when it comes to lying, i.e., they don't lie. وكذلك ورد في أمر إبراهيم في القرآن الكريم أنه قال: بل فعله كبيرهم هذا فاسألوهم إن كانوا ينطقون. Literally, this would mean, rather the big one did it. Rather, he did it, the big one, this one. So ask them, ask the other idols if they are speakers, if they talk. You know the story that Ibrahim alayhi salam, he stayed behind when some of those silly folk, the idol worshippers, went off to be hooligans celebrating their idols. Ibrahim alayhi salam stayed behind. He took an axe and he smashed up all of those little idols in the temple. And he hung the axe around the neck of the biggest one. So when they asked him, did you do this? They said to him, أَأَنْتَ فَعَلْتَ هَذَا بِآلِهَتِنَا يَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ? Did you do this, they said, to our gods, O Ibrahim? So Ibrahim alayhi salam didn't say, no, I didn't do it. He said, بَلْ فَعَلَهُ كَبِيرُهُمْ هَذَا, which would literally mean rather, he did it. The big one, this big one. What this means is that it was my hate for this bigger idol, as people used to serve it and decorate it and put food down for it. And when it wouldn't eat it, of course, then they would throw it away. It was my hate for this biggest idol that made me smash the other ones. Just like if you are carrying a tray to serve some people and someone is walking with you and they keep poking you and keep poking you. They keep trying to show you something on their phone. They keep trying to show you. They keep trying to show you. Suddenly, what do? You drop the tray. You turn to them and you say to them, look what you did. When in actual fact, you are the one that dropped the tray. But why did you drop the tray? Why were you discombobulated? Why were you out of balance? Why did you lose your equilibrium and fall over or drop the tray? Because that person was the cause. They were the reason, even though it was you that did it. They were the reason. So how would it be valid for this person to turn around and say, look what you did? And that's because they were the cause. That's why Ibrahim alayhi salam said, Bal fa'alahu kabiruhum. The big one is the one that did it, meaning he was the cause. He was the cause because my hate for this one pushed me to do it. Then he rendered them unable. He said to them, Fas'aluhum, why don't you ask these little ones, the little smashed smithereens, why don't you ask your so-called gods if they are to talk? And obviously they don't talk. So then they were dumbfounded, flabbergasted, and gobsmacked. What could they say? What could they say? Imagine, what could they say? They would have said, oh, but you know, and they did. They said, you know that they don't speak, O Ibrahim. You know that they are uh, everlastingly mute. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. So, وليس هذا كذبا حقيقيا بل هذا صدق من حيث الباطن والحقيقة لأن كبير الأصنام هو الذي حمله على الفتك بهم أي الأصنام الأخرى من شدة اغتياظه منه لمبالغتهم في تعظيمه بتجميل هيئته وصورته فحمله ذلك على أن يكسر الصغار ويهين الكبير فيكون إسناد الفعل إلى الكبير إسنادا مجازيا فلا كذب في ذلك أي هو في الحقيقة ليس كذبا. سبحان الله. I'd forgotten that all this was written here. Subhanallah. So I just actually explained all of this. I'll try and be literal though. Okay. So so this is not a lie from Ibrahim alayhi salam. Rather, it is truthfulness. It is internal or hidden, let's say, truth in reality. Why? Because the largest idol, it is the one that drove Ibrahim to destroy the other smaller ones, the smaller idols, from his sheer anger, and it's rewardable to be angry for the sake of Allah. And because of his rage from that bigger idol, because they would exaggerate in glorifying the idol and beautifying its shape and form. This drove him to smash the smaller ones and to degrade the big one. So, attributing the action of smashing the idols to the big idol is a figurative attribution. So, there is no lie in that, because in reality, it's not considered a lie. And the third thing, the third matter, so the third matter here, before we go on, Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was asked to come along with those hooligans to commemorate the idols, of course he was not going to go. So he said, inni saqim, inni saqim. This can have two meanings. One meaning is that it means I am not well, I am ill. And he wasn't ill. So the second meaning is that I am sick of you in my heart. I'm sick of that which you worship. So he said to them, Inni saqim. So they understood what that man that asked him to come along understood whatever he himself wanted to understand, and he left. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he said, Inni saqim, meaning that I'm sick of your belief, and so on. So these three matters that I mentioned to you, saying she is my sister, i.e. in al-Islam, and saying the big one pushed me to do it, and saying I am sick, these three matters were not lies. Anybody who says that they were lies commits kufr. وأما حديث كذب إبراهيم ثلاث كذبات فقد اعترض عليه بعض العلماء وأوله بعضهم. As for this hadith, there is a hadith that some scholars objected to. They said, nope, no way. This is not correct. And other scholars, they interpreted it. So some scholars, they said this hadith, no, it's not correct. They objected to it. And some scholars said, no, we can say the hadith is correct, but we interpret it to mean figuratively. So the hadith text, it says, if taken literally, it would say, sorry, one second. وَأَمَّا حَدِيثُ. Okay, so if somebody was to take this hadith literally, they would say that it means Ibrahim lied 3 lies. Some scholars rejected this hadith, and others said, well, the wording is like that, but what it means is that Ibrahim alayhi salam, 3 matters occurred from him that some people might think that it's a lie, but it's not a lie. Okay, so they accepted the hadith with interpreting it, not taking it literally. Okay. Let's see. La ilaha illallah. Okay. Okay. The author said, والأمانة فيستحيل عليهم الخيانة فلا يكذبون على الناس إن طلبوا منهم النصيحة ولا يأكلون أموال الناس بالباطل. The prophets, they must be attributed with trustworthiness, al-amana, al-amana. So it is impossible that they would be that one of their attributes would be that they are traitors, that they display treachery. So treachery comes in many forms. When you're speaking in the Arabic language, treachery comes in many forms. When we say treachery, usually we understand that someone's betrayed us. They said they're going to do one thing and they've gone and stabbed us in the back. Okay, yes, that is a form of khiyana, but it's wider. The meaning is wider than that. it accommodates other scenarios too. So, فَلَا يَكْذِبُونَ عَلَى النَّاسِ إِن طَلَبُوا مِنْهُمُ النَّصِيحَةَ. If somebody comes to you for advice, right, then you should give them good advice. Okay, you shouldn't lie to them to better your own situation. You shouldn't withhold what is good for them from them. So the prophets, they would not lie to the people if people requested advice from them. No, they would say what the matter, the way it is according to the rules of the religion. And this is how we should be. We should advise for the sake of Allah according to the rules of the religion, away from our whims and desires. Sometimes we might not be used to a certain religious judgment. We accept it fully. We accept it and we're not disturbed by it. We accept it fully. But it's new to us. Or if I tell this person that such and such is uh, halal, that this might affect me in some way. Or if I tell them such and such is haram, then this might affect me in some way. Uh, to give an example, like if a person knows that his sibling, his sister, for example, doesn't pray, and a suitable, or let's say a good person comes, a man comes to ask this person about his sister because he wants to marry his sister. And he says to him, tell me about your sister. Is there any reason why I shouldn't marry? Does she pray, and so on and so on and so on? And this person thinks, subhanallah, this person's, he's wealthy. He's come to ask for my sister's hand in marriage. And, we'd all benefit. He's got a lot of money. My sister will be comfortable and. So he says to him, for example, yeah, my sister prays. My sister does all of this, X, Y, and Z. So here a person hasn't given the proper advice. She doesn't pray. Imagine they get married and then he finds out she doesn't pray. A man will have in his mind a whole idea about the woman that he is going to marry because he wants his children to be raised in a certain way by the right person. The mother's the first teacher. So now he has this wife who doesn't pray and is not used to praying. He feels cheated, doesn't he? Like that. That person, that brother of that sister, his brother-in-law committed treachery. Also, the prophets, so لا يأكلون أموال الناس بالباطل. They don't consume people's money, people's wealth unrightfully. Okay. The next attribute that must be attributed to prophets is والفطانة, intelligence, sharpness, and an astronomical sharpness. فكل الأنبياء أذكياء. All the prophets were super intelligent. يستحيل عليهم الغباوة. It's impossible that they would be attributed with stupidity or being mentally retarded, being seriously mentally challenged. أن يكونوا ضعفاء الأفهام لأن الغباوة تنافي منصبهم لأنهم لو كانوا أغبياء لنفر منهم الناس لغباوتهم والله حكيم لا يجعل النبوة والرسالة في الأغبياء فإنهم أرسلوا ليبلغوا الناس مصالح آخرتهم ودنياهم والبلادة تنافي هذا المطلوب منهم. So they are not slow or mentally challenged or stupid, i.e., for them to be, I they are not uh, of weak understanding. No, they are not of weak understanding, because al-ghabawa, stupidity, contradicts the station of prophethood. Because if they were, hypothetically speaking, if they were stupid, then people would be repelled from them because of their stupidity. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has eternal and everlasting knowledge, meaning Allah is Hakim. Allah Ta'ala puts things in the right places. Allah Ta'ala would not grant prophethood or messengership to a stupid person, because the prophets were sent to convey to the people what is good for them in the hereafter and this life. And being slow, retarded, and stupid contradicts that which is hoped from them, that which is requested from them. The author said, ويستحيل على الأنبياء الرذالة والسفاهة والبلادة، فليس في الأنبياء من هو رذيل يختلس النظر إلى النساء الأجنبيات بشهوة مثلا، وليس فيهم من يسرق ولو حبة عنب، وليس في الأنبياء من هو سفيه يقول ألفاظا شنيعة تستقبحها النفس، وليس في الأنبياء من هو بليد الذهن عاجز عن إقامة الحجة على من يعارضه بالبيان، ولا ضعيف الفهم لا يفهم الكلام من المرة الأولى إلا بعد أن يكرر عليه عدة مرات. It's impossible that a prophet, it's impossible that prophets would be attributed with lowliness. And safaha, I said, will explain. I can't find an English word for that now. Silliness, like safih. Wal balada, again, stupidity. So there isn't one among the prophets, there isn't anyone among the prophets who was lowly, sneaking a peek or sneaking a sly look at an ajnabi woman, at a marriageable woman with desire. This is very lowly. I sometimes give this example. Imagine a person standing outside his store or outside his, I don't know, standing at the bus stop, and he sees a marriageable woman walking past, and he's looking, I don't know, at his phone or something. And then when he feels that no one is looking, from the corner of his eye, he has a quick look. He has a desirous look. And then he looks back really quickly. And then he looks in the opposite direction just to make sure, did anybody see me? Did anybody see me? And then he looks back at his phone again, and then again he looks really quickly. This is a lowly person. Imagine you could see such a person. Imagine your house was across the bus stop, and you're looking from the top window at this person. You see people walking past, you see a woman walking past, and then you seem to gauge on this man there. He's looking at his phone, but he's got his phone held up as though he's looking at it, but his eyes are somewhere else. And he's doing it in a sneaky way. And what a low life. What a, that's a rathil. That's a lowly person. Okay? Likewise, a low person is the one. So the prophets are not like that, of course. And likewise, there isn't anybody in the prophets who would, for example, steal one small grape Why? Because stealing a grape is very lowly. Imagine that. Imagine you were really, really hungry. Okay, not starving, but really, really hungry. And imagine someone else, not yourself, of course. Someone's really hungry, and the shopkeeper turned around and they were talking. Yeah, yeah. Or they say, yeah, I'd like to buy such and such and such and such, and they have the shopkeeper turn around and they keep talking to him so that they can uh, pluck off a tiny grape, be it a sour grape, let's say, and they put it in the mouth while the shopkeeper's not looking, and that's it. That's it. And the shopkeeper turns around and they purchase whatever they want to purchase and they leave, or they don't purchase it. They say, I'm off. I've changed my mind." If you were watching this person, you'd think, how low, what kind of a person are you? Like, are you satiated? Are you full now because you had that grape and you have to steal it as well while he was? It shows a low character. It shows a lowness in a person. Okay, especially if a person was by themselves, because it's not like they're making people laugh or they're trying to impress their friends. No, this is just a lowly person to go to all that trouble to steal a grape, and then to steal a grape when one knows that it's not going to fill them at all. So the prophets don't have that in them. They don't have lowliness in them. These sins here show bad character. This stealing a grape, this is a small sin, but it's expressive of bad character. Okay, these types of things don't occur from prophets. The prophets are impeccable in this regard. They are infallible in this regard. Nothing occurs from them that is an expression of bad character, because they have been sent by God to carry out a task. They have a function, and Allah prepared them, equipped them in their uh, in their physical attributes, their facial features, their bodily attributes, in strength and so on, beauty, in their voices also, and likewise in attributes of the heart, in their manners. Right. Uh, Likewise, there isn't a safih, a silly person among the prophets who says vulgar words that people consider to be despicable. No, prophets aren't like that. And no one among the prophets is balid dhihn, meaning mentally challenged or retarded. So they're not with everybody else, they're behind, much behind, meaning that they're slow. So the prophets aren't slow. Slow in a way that they are unable to present proof against the one that they are challenged by to clarify the truth. So, in other words, a prophet would be able to present very clearly and confidently proof against the one that challenges them in the correct belief and so on. So the prophet would not be someone who is unable to bring about these proofs against the one that goes against them. And they are not weak in understanding, such that they uh, don't understand the first time, except if somebody repeats and repeats and repeats many times. No, no, no. Don't you know of the example of that woman that came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and she said to him, Ya Rasulullah, firashuna barid, O Messenger of Allah, our bed is cold. And subhanallah, I remember when our teacher gave us this example, and he said, and whenever I give this example, I say as well, that imagine Subhanallah. May Allah have mercy on us. This woman came to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam and she said, Ya Rasulullah, our bed is cold. So immediately the Prophet got it, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And he said to the people, go and get her husband. The Prophet understood what she meant, and that is that her husband doesn't engage in sexual intercourse with her. But she didn't say it like that directly. She said, O Messenger of Allah, our bed is cold. And he got it. Can you imagine somebody? Subhanallah. May Allah grant us understanding. Can you imagine somebody today, yani among the people who are not very yani quick, imagine somebody today being asked how a bed is cold. What kind of answer would people give? Well, do you have central heating? Might be one answer. Do you have double, triple glazed windows? Do you have a water bottle? You should wear two pairs of socks. Hasbi Allah. Nabki ala halina. Ya Latif. May Allah grant us understanding. Subhanallah. Allah yaltuf. Allah yaltuf, ya Jama'ah. Allah yaltuf. Ah, ya Rab. Okay, so may Allah have mercy. Okay, by the way, yeah, so the prophets would understand straight away. They wouldn't need for something to be repeated to them over and over again. Sometimes you and I might have the off day, right? Someone explains something to you and you say, I don't get it. It's possible that they're not explaining properly, but then that can't always be our excuse that everybody else is not explaining it properly. That's why we don't understand. Because sometimes we've got to, take the blame also. Maybe a lot of the time, where we just don't get it. It doesn't click. It does not click. You say, can you say that again, please? So they say it again. And you make a face and you think, yeah, I'm going to get it this time. Come on. But no, nothing. The vessel is empty. There's nothing there. You say, look, I'm so sorry. Can you say it one more time? They say, yeah, of course I can. They say it one more time and you still don't get it, but now you're embarrassed. So they say, did you understand? So what do you say? You say, let's move on. Let's move on. What's next? So yeah, continue. Carry on. Carry on. You think I'll ask somebody else. I don't get it. Ah, ya Allah. Ya Rab. Ya Rab. Ya. عايزين نعمل ايه يعني ما شاء الله. قال المصنف ويستحيل so it's impossible that these things would be attributed to prophets. ويستحيل على الأنبياء سبق اللسان في الشرعيات والعاديات لأنه لو جاز عليهم لارتفعت الثقة في صحة ما يقولونه ولقال قائل عندما يبلغه كلام عن النبي ما يدرينا أن يكون قاله على وجه سبق اللسان لذلك لا يصدر من نبي كلام غير الذي يريد قوله ولا يصدر منه كلام وهو لا يريد الكلام بالمرة كما يحصل لمن يتكلم وهو نائم وكذلك يستحيل عليهم الأمراض المنفرة كخروج الدود من الجسم. So here the author said, and it's impossible that a prophet that a slip of the tongue would occur to a prophet. It doesn't happen. It won't happen. It's never happened. It's impossible that a slip of the tongue would occur from a prophet, whether that is in religious matters, whether it's in religious speech, when the prophet is explaining religious terms and judgments, or in normal day-to-day speech, which is not religious. So neither in al-adiyat, in the normal matters, did his tongue slip, or any prophet, nor in the shar'iyat, in the religious matters, did his tongue slip. Why? Because had it been possible, then the trustworthiness that the prophets have would have been erased, would have been removed, literally would have been lifted, taken away. Such a person would not be considered trustworthy anymore in terms of the authenticity of what they are saying. And the people would have said, when they when it reaches them that a prophet has said such and such, if there were people whose tongues slipped, then the people would say, well, how do we not know that maybe this person's tongue slipped? Maybe when they said it was halal, maybe his tongue slipped and he meant it was haram. One might say, maybe when he said that God is one, he meant three, so called Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, for example, right? So we would not be able to trust, in that case, anything that came out of this person's mouth, because he's someone who's known to have slip of the tongue. Or not even that, not even if they're not known, it must be known amongst us that this is someone whose tongue doesn't even slip. This person's not like us. We're humans and they're humans, but this person isn't like us. It's actually something, one might say, palpable, in that this person's tongue doesn't slip. Also, it's also known amongst the people that this person's never lied. This is a proof of their prophethood. You know, all of these attributes, where they're taken from? The hadith of الترمذي. قال رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام: ما بعث الله نبيا إلا حسن الوجه حسن الصوت. Allah sent every prophet with a beautiful face. What's extrapolated from this is beautiful attributes, a beautiful face, a beautiful bodily structure, an inviting appearance. So people would come and sit with them. All the prophets, كانت وجوههم حلوة. They had great beauty. They had great beauty in their faces. Allah created them like that. Allah equipped them even with the best facial features so people would be drawn towards them. The Prophet said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as Allah revealed to him, God revealed to him, every prophet was given a beautiful, rather a handsome face and a beautiful voice. So the prophets, as part of their beautiful voices, they were free of ever having a Freudian slip, what is known today as Freudian slip, la'an Allahu Freud. What's known today as a Freudian slip, right? This is what we mean by slip of the tongue. So they were protected from that because the Prophet said every prophet was given a beautiful voice. So that means what? No slip of the tongue, no stuttering, no stammering, no lisp even. So no speech impediment that would make it probable that their speech was unclear. No, not at all. They were the most eloquent creations, and people would understand them very well. So they didn't have a lisp. They didn't have a lisp. Instead of saying a psalm, fasting, uh, that they'd say a thome, or like that. You know what a lisp is, don't you? Someone tries to say street, and they say street like that. Yeah, this is the way they talk. It's not haram for them to speak like that. But we're talking about prophets. Or someone stutters. Someone tries to say a word. They try to say table. They say, and then they eventually say table. Such a person, if someone said, oh, this is a prophet, and this person stuttered and stuttered and they couldn't get their words out, how are they going to teach people? People would get bored and people would say, what kind of a prophet is this? Allah protected the prophets from these attributes. Allah يقول الله أعلم حيث يجعل رسالته. Allah knows best in whom or to whom he would give prophethood. Allahu a'lam حيث. Allah knows best where to يجعل رسالته, where to put prophethood, to whom Allah gives prophethood, because this means Allah would equip them with the best of attributes. For that reason, nothing, no speech occurs from a prophet except the speech that the prophet wanted to say. A prophet would not speak whilst he did not want to. Like what happens to the sleeping person, right? The sleeping person doesn't intend to talk. This, speaking without intending to talk, this doesn't happen to prophets. Likewise, it's fitting to mention here, while the prophet was alive and the prophets were alive and so on, the devil was never able to control the tongue of a prophet. This is obvious, isn't it? Otherwise, the people would have said, oh, well, he's saying alcohol is haram. Maybe it's the devil speaking from his tongue. He's saying that pork, swine, pig are haram. Well, maybe, they might have said, maybe it's the devil. So Allah protected the prophets from this. So the jinn, they could not enter the prophets' bodies. The jinn, the devils, they could not possess the prophets. Allah protected the prophets from this. This is again something special for the prophets. وكذلك يستحيل عليهم الأمراض المنفرة كخروج الدود من الجسم. Likewise, it's impossible that the prophets would be afflicted with an illness that was repelling. Why? Because their job is to teach the people. Anything that someone attributes to a prophet that inhibits them and prevents them from carrying out the task that they were sent for, that Allah prepared them for by giving them a handsome face and a nice voice and great manners and a nice scent and all of this, anything that goes against their life's mission that Allah prepared them for, this is rejected. So if somebody says a prophet was attributed with having a really, 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 really bad smell, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, this is kufr. Why? Because who wants to sit around somebody who has very, very, very strong body odor? You don't. Sometimes, if you remember back in the school days, perhaps when one of your friends, had very strong body odor, and you didn't have the heart to tell them, but at the same time, you might have been throwing up in your mouth, right? But you try to move away from them like that. This is something repelling. The prophets would never be attributed with something like that. Some people have claimed in the past, and this is kufr, this makes those people non-Muslims. They claim that one of the prophets, he smelled so bad that they evicted him from the city. Crazy. Who says stuff like that except a crazy, except a non-Muslim? That's belittling a prophet. So it's impossible that a prophet would be afflicted with an illness that is repelling. That is repelling. Like for a worm, this never happened to any prophet. Like for a worm to come out of the body of a person. I mean, people bleed, right? Okay. Some people, they don't do very good with seeing blood and they pass out. Okay. Also, people have spots, people have pimples, things come out of them, pus might come out of them, right? But a worm, that's really something. If your best friend had worms coming out of their body, you would not hug them. If your father, may Allah protect your fathers and grant them death upon Islam, if your father had worms coming out of him, So, of course, a prophet whose job is to sit with the people, call the people, invite the people, he would not be afflicted with an illness such as this where worms come out of his body because people wouldn't sit near him. Okay. Now, the reason this is not being mentioned at random, some people claimed this. Billah. Some people claimed this. So, this is not true. As for other ailments and illnesses and pains, yes, it's possible that the prophets would be afflicted with them, like a headache. The prophets were humans after all. So like a headache and passing out, like as the Prophet did, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad, he would pass out. And he would say to his wife when she said, wa ra'sah, he said, bal wa ra'sah, ana u'akuka rajulaini minkum. He said that the Prophet said that when I am ill, I feel it twice as much as you. I feel it, yeah, twice as much as two people would. But that's not repelling. If someone's got a headache, you're not repelled by them. You're not disgusted by them. You sit next to them. It's fine, right? Allah, Allah, Allah. Okay, we'll stop here today. MashaAllah. That was a beneficial session, inshallah ta'ala. Let's say La ilaha illallah and as-salah ala nabi. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم بارك الله فيكم. Have a good night inshallah ta'ala. Take care of yourselves and make dua for the Muslims. بارك الله فيكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.